Hey. You never leave your room and just keep playing games all day. You're really like a parasitic daughter-in-law. Mother, I'm working. I'm not just playing games. That's just an excuse. I'm hungry. Stop complaining and start preparing dinner already. I've been continually reprimanded by my mother-in-law every day. And I've reached my limit of endurance. I've been planning something for a while now. And I'm about to put it into action. I am Nicole, 27 years old. Due to certain circumstances, I've been living with my husband's parents for the past 6 months. My husband's name is Alex. It's almost been 2 years since we got married. My job mainly involves running a blog and earning an income through an online home business. Recently, my earnings have been steadily increasing, and I've started to see a reliable income. I became interested in blogging in high school, which led me to immerse myself in the online world. Though I had some interest in romance like other women, I mostly stayed indoors with my computer, leaving little opportunity to meet men outside or have friends to introduce me to someone. So, I thought of joining marriage activity websites and dating apps to find a partner. I checked various sites and registered on a dating app that made a good first impression, hoping earnestly to meet someone wonderful. I felt like this was my last chance. That's where I met Alex. What if he's different from what I imagined? I'll just find a reason to leave. Feeling nervous, I waited at the meeting place, and then Alex appeared. He had a refreshing smile that made me blush. Sensing my nervousness, Alex engaged me in various interesting conversations. He was very good at talking and charming enough to captivate even a shy person like me. He took me to different places on our dates. Walking with Alex was a delightful moment for me, who had been facing the computer every day and going out less. A month after we met, I confessed, "I want to be with you," and we started dating. Looking back, it was surprising for a self-conscious and introverted person like me to confess. About a year into our relationship, Alex proposed, "Please marry me." I had no reason to refuse. "I'd be happy to," I answered. My parents liked Alex and welcomed him joyfully. They were secretly worried I'd remain single because I was always with my computer. I greeted Alex's family. Thinking back, Alex seemed reluctant to talk about his family. I wondered why, but I understood when I met them. Alex's family consisted of his parents in their 50s, his grandfather, and his sister, 5 years older than him. His grandfather was kind and warm-hearted, but his parents and sister were somewhat formal and indifferent. It seemed that the grandfather didn't have a good relationship with the rest of the family. His father spoke roughly and seemed careless about everything. His mother, a flashy and individualistic woman, often bragged about graduating from a famous women's university. I felt that his parents might not be the type I get along with. His sister, also a graduate of the same university, seemed dissatisfied with only being able to work part-time despite her education. Though his parents both worked, their income seemed unstable, and they relied on his sister's part-time earnings and his grandfather's pension. Due to the family situation and financial issues with the wedding, Alex and I decided to get married without a ceremony, opting for a simple registration. Since Alex's apartment was too small for both of us, we decided to rent a new, slightly larger rental apartment. I needed a place to work, so we thought we could afford the rent if we split it. That's why we chose a slightly larger new home. About a year into our marriage, Alex, with a seriousness I had never seen before, started a conversation. "Nicole, I have something important to tell you. My grandfather back home is getting worse, and it's becoming a serious situation. But no one in the family is willing to help." Alex confessed that if his family wouldn't cooperate, he wanted to support his grandfather himself. Hearing this, I initially felt anxious about living with my in-laws, but I trusted Alex and decided to move in with them. So, we moved from our apartment to Alex's family home. Once we moved in, we realized the house was smaller than we imagined for 6 adults. There were only rooms for Alex's grandfather and sister, besides his parents' room. There was no room for us, so we had to share a room with his parents. My job involves working from home on a computer, but to my in-laws, it seemed like I was just playing. I was always met with suspicion and frowned upon. One day, Alex's grandfather approached me. "Nicole, I'm really grateful that you came here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This house is too small for you and Alex to live with everyone, right? So, I'm thinking of extending it." Hearing this, I was surprised and stared at his face. He continued, noticing my astonished expression. "Nicole, you need your own room to work, right? Actually, I've already gotten a quote and started consulting about it. Don't worry. Everything will be fine." He talked to me with his usual smile. After that, Alex's father contacted a friend's construction company. And soon the extension work began. The house had a large garden, so they planned to add 2 rooms there. The grandfather even paid for us to stay in a hotel while the work was being done. About a month later, the extension was completed, and we moved back to the family home. Everyone was happy to see the newly renovated and beautiful house. "Wow, it's so beautiful. That guy really did a good job." I was surprised when my usually quiet father-in-law suddenly said this. I was so shocked and asked, "That guy? Do you mean his own parent?" I couldn't believe that such words would be used to describe one's own parent. Life began anew in the renovated family home, but I soon realized something. As Alex had said, his parents and sister really did nothing around the house. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to take care of the grandfather in such a situation. Nobody cleaned their rooms or did any housework. Everyone just ate pre-made meals or takeout in their own rooms. At first, I thought everyone was just busy, but in reality, no one did anything. I understood why there was so much plastic waste. Perhaps the grandfather had given up. He would buy his own lunch, prepare his meal, and eat alone. Concerned about the elderly grandfather's health, I offered one day, "If it's okay with you, I can cook meals for everyone." Initially, the family hesitated, saying, "We can't impose that much." But I assured them, "I work from home, so I have some flexibility. It's okay." Then the grandfather said with a smile, "Well, if Nicole is offering, let's accept her kindness." From the next day, I started preparing meals for our family and the entire household. "Everyone, breakfast is ready. Please come and eat." As I called out, they came out of their rooms and gathered at the dining table, silently starting to eat as if it were the most natural thing. I wasn't expecting words of gratitude. But since nobody had ever prepared a family breakfast like this before, I thought a simple thank you would be nice. However, the only ones who expressed their gratitude were Alex and his grandfather. His parents and sister continued eating in silence, showing no sign of appreciation. Even as a patient person, this attitude left me with a sour impression. I never thought I'd have such a warm meal in the morning. It's truly delightful." His words were a comfort to me amidst my frustration with the rest of the family. "Nicole, you still have your work, right? I'm happy you did this, but are you sure it's okay?" His concern was touching, but suddenly, his father raised his voice in complaint. "Hey, I appreciate the meal, but everything tastes so bland, doesn't it? What is this, made bland for the old man's taste?" Following him, his mother began to complain dismissively. "Really, it's so bland. Such a poor taste. How were you raised?" Well, she did make it for us. Let's eat it. But maybe you should study cooking a bit more." Even his sister, who had never cooked, mocked me with a laugh. The barrage of criticism made me more sad than angry. I'm sorry it didn't suit your tastes. I'll be more careful with the seasoning next time. I replied with a forced smile, holding back tears. Instead of getting angry, I quietly endured. But my in-laws, seeing my quiet response, started to dump more household chores on me. I was at home, but I was working, not playing. I had plenty of my own work to do. But to them, it seemed like I was just playing on the computer. And they never really understood that. Hey, Nicole, once you're done there, can you clean the room too? When my mother-in-law asked me to do something, my sister-in-law quickly joined in and said, while you're at it, please clean my room too. It's your room, shouldn't you clean it yourself? I gently refused, knowing that cleaning their rooms would take away from my work time. Hey, who do you think you are, living in this house? You stay home all day and don't work. If you're unhappy, go work outside. His father, hearing our conversation, scolded me loudly. Look. You never leave your room and just play games all day. You're like a parasitic daughter-in-law. Mother, I am working. I'm not just playing games. I used to argue back, trying to make them understand my work. But no matter how much I explained, they never listened or tried to understand. And I grew tired of arguing. They couldn't accept that I was working on the computer all day, even though they were working outside. They didn't seem to grasp the concept of remote work. Hey, I heard you only finished high school, right? You must be dumb, playing on the computer all day. That's just being unemployed, right? I was insulted and laughed at, filled with frustration. Unable to bear it any longer, I decided to talk to Alex. What? She said that? Unforgivable. Enough is enough. Alex, livid with anger, stormed into his sister's room. Ugh. What now, Alex? What do you want? She came out of her room, annoyed and glaring at Alex. Hey, sister. You don't understand anything, do you? Nicole is properly working. She's not unemployed, and she's not dumb. He shouted back at his sister. But she just scoffed and dismissed him. What can you possibly do and earn with a computer? Defending her, Alex? Ridiculous. Well, she's the wife you chose. She mocked me further, tossing a parting shot before slamming her room door shut. No matter what I said, it just didn't get through. I was engulfed in a sense of isolation and sadness. Thoughts of leaving this place crossed my mind. But if I left, it would mean neglecting Alex's feelings for his grandfather, who he deeply cared for. I was at a loss about what to do next. While I was pondering this, suddenly Alex's grandfather collapsed. He had a history of heart problems, and though he had been stable recently, he had frequent attacks in the past that led to emergency hospitalizations. To avoid worrying me, he had kept this serious condition to himself. This was the real reason Alex was so concerned about his grandfather. Despite the doctor's best efforts at the hospital, his grandfather passed away. With our ally in the family home gone, Alex and I faced uncertain days ahead, wondering what to do. First and foremost, arranging the funeral was the immediate necessity. With the grief of losing his grandfather suddenly, Alex and I somehow managed to keep our composure, picked up his cold body, and started making funeral arrangements. The preparation was almost entirely handled by us, with his parents hardly involved. His father, the complete opposite in character to his grandfather, seemed almost pleased by his passing. He only pretended to be sad when mourners were present, but otherwise, he was lackadaisical. His mother too, feigned tears in front of visitors, but complained and grumbled behind their backs. As for his sister, she stayed in her room, offering no help with the funeral. I couldn't understand what this family intended with such behavior. The loss of the kind-hearted grandfather, who was part of the family I lived with, filled me with anger towards my indifferent in-laws. At the funeral, his father seemed resigned, responding to mourners with a solemn face. His mother and sister also pretended to be sad. But I suspected they were inwardly mocking everyone. To me, their attitudes were incomprehensible and increasingly painful. The only exception was Alex, who had been fond of his grandfather since he was young. Alex was trying to suppress his urge to cry and explode with emotion, proceeding with the funeral preparations. His behavior was so dignified that it cast doubt on his relation to his father. After the funeral, his parents' attitude completely changed.
Ha!
The old man did one good thing before going to the other world by expanding the house. At least he was useful at the end. He heartlessly muttered these words towards his father's portrait. Indeed. The house was so cramped and old. It's good that it's bigger and nicer now. She expressed relief, seemingly more pleased about the convenience than saddened by the loss.
Yeah.
If only that nuisance would leave too, it'd be perfect. Sneering, she glanced at Alex and me. I noticed her gaze and confronted the family. Oh? It seems we're nothing but a bother to you, isn't it? Very well. We'll move out as you wish. With the grandfather gone, there was no reason to stay. But upon hearing this, his father flew into a rage, foaming at the mouth and shouting at us. Oh. You're leaving? Good, get out quickly. You're nothing but parasites who do nothing. His sister joined in loudly. Exactly. You're not family anymore. Alex is too serious, and I hate that. And you, like a parasite, I hate you too. Go on, get out. His mother also chimed in loudly. Really, you're such a useless daughter-in-law. Your cooking and cleaning are mediocre, and you're annoyingly neurotic and gloomy. Just disappear from here quickly. Faced with these harsh words, I held back my anger and calmly replied to his parents. Yes, of course, we'll leave. But if you ask us to move out immediately, we need time to prepare for the move. So, could you please give us a week? We'll leave this house after a week. Actually, Alex and I had been planning to leave this house for a while. We had already found a new place and were ready to move at any time. Originally, we planned to take his grandfather with us. We realized we couldn't live with his parents anymore and were considering moving out. We didn't want to leave his grandfather behind, so we planned to take him with us. But he passed away before we could carry out our plan. There was no point in regretting what couldn't be changed, so we had to move forward. The week flew by quickly, and the day of our move finally arrived. Well then, we wish you all the best for the future. I deliberately made a polite greeting to my in-laws.
Yeah.
No need for such formalities. You're in the way, just hurry up and leave. To the very end, his father was harsh with his words. You should be grateful I let you live in my house for free. He said arrogantly. Is that so? We will leave, but, actually, I've been the one paying for this house's mortgage. Are you sure about this? When I mentioned this, his father laughed scornfully.
Ha!
Unemployed people who just plays with a computer can't afford to pay that much money. Stop joking around. In response to his father's complete disbelief, Alex calmly retorted. Dad, that's not true. Nicole really has been paying. Grandpa said he would pay, but it was too much for him. We kept the mortgage in Grandpa's name, but Nicole said she couldn't let him bear all the burden. So she's been the one paying. His father was at a loss for words, displaying a look of disbelief. What? How much does she earn a month, then? I replied with a light smile. Let's see, last month, it was about $20,000. His mother and sister looked skeptical, but I didn't care. It was the truth, and I was just stating the facts. Now that grandfather has passed away, this house becomes the property of the inheritor, which would be you. Father. Just what you wanted, right? I said with a smile. His father exploded in anger. What are you saying? That's obvious, isn't it? I continued, unfazed by his outburst. Yes, so you should expect to receive a bill for inheritance tax soon. Don't forget to pay that. Oh, and there's still a remaining balance on the mortgage. You'll be contacted about that too, so please take care of it. His face turned pale with a mix of shock and fear. What? But you said you've been paying the mortgage. I calmly explained. Yes, I have been paying the mortgage. But that was while the mortgage was in grandfather's name. Now that he's gone, I have no obligation to continue paying. His parents and sister were shocked and confused. His father, in a panicked voice, asked, So, how much is left on the mortgage? I vaguely responded with a hint of sarcasm. I think about $100,000 is left. His father was speechless, realizing the amount was more than he expected. He slumped down in shock. I pressed on. Oh, and about the new appliances and furniture we bought during the renovation. I paid for all of them. So, the movers will come to pick them up later. Please be prepared for that. The in-laws were at a loss for words and couldn't come up with any rebuttal. But for us, we no longer had any connection with the family home. And so, we bid our farewell and left the family home. Then, this is really
Goodbye.
Take care of yourselves. I smiled and turned my back on the in-law family, never looking back again. Alex and I then headed to our new apartment. I was surprised to feel absolutely no attachment to the family home or the in-law family. Arriving at the apartment and unloading our belongings, Alex spoke up, lost in thought. You know, I was adopted into that family, but I could never really get along with them. I was surprised and looked back at Alex. But Grandpa, he always treated me kindly and cared for me. He's the only real family I've ever had. That's what I believe. I was moved by Alex's words, and he continued. Dad always told me to go out and work, to bring in money. It was unbearable. I reached my limit. So, this is for the best. This way. Alex's smile seemed relieved and unburdened. I imagined that by now, the movers would be arriving at the family home to pick up the appliances and furniture I had bought. During the renovation, I had bought almost all new furniture, appliances, and dishes, so there would be hardly anything left except for the in-laws' belongings. Honestly, I might have left some appliances for the in-laws to use. But considering the humiliation and sadness I endured, I thought this was just about right. Sometime after our move, my phone suddenly rang. It was probably a call from the family home. I ignored it a few times, but the persistence made me finally answer. Hello? This is Nicole. Is there something you need? As I answered, the voice on the other end, shaking with anger, started yelling. Hey. What's this about? The inheritance tax. It's so high. We didn't know about this. Why didn't you tell us? We can't possibly pay such high taxes. Plus, the mortgage and utility bills. How are we supposed to live? It was his father's voice, shouting. I had anticipated that they would soon struggle to make payments and face financial difficulties. I knew the area where the family home was located had rapidly increased in land value, resulting in high inheritance taxes. Moreover, his parents and sister had low incomes from irregular employment, and they were barely getting by with his grandfather's pension. Without my covering the mortgage, expanding or renovating the house would have been impossible. Well, if you find it difficult to make mortgage payments, Perhaps you should consider selling the house to cover the costs. I said this coldly on purpose. But, don't talk like that. We're family, aren't we? Help us out. I'm really sorry for everything, please, help us with the payments. I wondered why they were saying such convenient things only now. He sounded desperate, but I no longer considered them family. Family? Us? I'm sorry, but my family is only Alex. He said he was adopted. So, we've decided to cut ties. Please, don't call us again. It's a nuisance. I hung up after those words. I could still hear angry shouts from the other end, but I had no intention of listening anymore. Months later, I happened to pass by the family home. There was a for sale sign with a real estate contact number in front of the now dilapidated house. Apparently, they had been forced to sell the house due to financial difficulties. Thinking that the house Grandpa expanded for us was wasted pained my heart. With mixed feelings, I quietly passed by the family home. I never want to deal with people who treat their family so poorly and heartlessly again. According to the neighbors, due to financial difficulties, Alex's father resorted to borrowing money from consumer finance companies and even illegal lenders. He struggled with harsh debt collections and eventually decided to sell the house and use the money to pay off the debts. Yet, he still couldn't pay off everything and now lives in a cheap, run-down apartment. The three of them are juggling multiple jobs, working tirelessly from dawn till dusk. As for us, after moving into our new home, we've settled down and gotten accustomed to our new life. I now have my own workspace and can focus on my work. I'm busy running my new online shop. Alex's career is going well, and there's talk of a promotion. Sometimes I think back on the hardships we faced at his family home, but I've had enough of that. Now, I feel incredibly happy living a quiet life with just Alex. Oh, and there's more good news. After the move, I wasn't feeling well, so I went to the doctor and found out I was pregnant. The pregnancy is going smoothly, and our baby is growing healthily inside. We don't know the gender yet, but it's fun choosing baby items. Alex was overjoyed when I told him about the pregnancy. Having not been treated as family because he was adopted, this will be his first blood-related family. I'm sure his grandfather is watching over us joyfully from heaven. Alex, the baby, and I look forward to our future together. We're both sincerely hoping for a safe arrival of our baby. Recently, I've also started knitting. I'm knitting socks for the baby, but it's quite challenging. I've been knitting and unraveling repeatedly, far from finishing. Hey, I may not be good at knitting yet, but by the time you arrive, Mama will definitely become skilled and make you cute socks. I gently touched my belly and said this.